Welcome back. All right, so USA, and there's players that aren't on this board that could probably make it onto other rosters for the Olympics. The U.S. has so much depth now when it comes to star power. There are so many good American players. It is remarkable. They could put together almost any kind of team they want here. They could put together a team of veterans. They could put together a team that's very, very young and hungry. And no matter what they do, this is a team that should be a medal winning team. Now, they finished fourth in 2014, and this is the thing with the Americans on the world stage when it comes to men's hockey. I like one of the most famous, if not the most famous tournament, might be the 1980 Olympics, right? Miracle on Ice, and the 1972 Canada Cup is up there as well. But in general, on an international stage, it's always kind of felt like the Americans should finish higher than they do. There have been times where they get the silver when they should have the gold, this kind of thing, and I'm talking about like Canada Cups, and I've seen that in World Championships and in Olympics as well. This is a team that should be in the gold medal game. I'm going to say straight out, the U.S. and Canada, I think, are going to be able to put together intimidating rosters to the point where you could make two American teams and two Canadian teams and have a pretty good tournament with that. So when we look at the forward group, it is ridiculous. Just going to say straight out, absolutely ridiculous. I've put asterisks next to who I think should be top six forwards and top four defensemen and the number one goalie, but anything can happen here. And again, as long as we get NHL players in the Olympics, this should be a lot of fun to watch. So Austin Matthews leads the way. Now, the way that I rate these is by scoring. So your top scorers at the top, your lowest scorers at the bottom, for the most part. There are a couple that I added afterwards, and I was like, right, he should be on the board, even though the board's pretty full. So Austin Matthews will be wearing American colors and will be out there playing for Team USA, you would think. Patrick Kane, who played on the 2014 team, so he's going to remember that team finished fourth. Got close, not quite, to a medal. Jake Gensel, Alex DeBrincat, both of them should be top four. DeBrincat has chemistry with Patrick Kane. They should be paired together. Joe Pavelski is an interesting one because he had a great season for Dallas. He did play on the 2014 team, but are they going to, when they name their team, look at Joe Pavelski and say, we want to go younger? Or are they going to look and say, you know what, down the middle, we could really use Joe Pavelski's level of expertise and experience, so we're going to go with Pavelski. Be fun to see what they do. And Max Pacioretty, who was also on the 2014 team. Kyle Connor, I have an asterisk with him because I think he should be top six. Excellent player out of Winnipeg. If you're a Jets fan, you might be kind of torn because there could be a lot of American players here who are Jets, as well as Brock Besser. There are Canucks on this team too. Brock Besser being one of them. And I didn't put him as top six, but it could happen. Johnny Gaudreau absolutely could be top six as well. Blake Wheeler was on the 2014 team. Does he make it to this team? And again, it's that argument of age, which is seen as that negative, or experience, which is seen as a positive. JT Miller, Jason Robertson, young out of Dallas, right? You want to get that youngster into the lineup, wouldn't you? TJ Oshie, 2014. Great in shootouts. Do you bring TJ Oshie over for that? And also because he's a pretty decent forward. Phil Kessel, 2014, he was there. Probably doesn't make this team, but if you look at the scoring, he's still a pretty decent scorer at the NHL level. He could make this team. Vinnie Trochek, who I think ends up being top six. I think he's kind of underrated, but again, there are a lot of big names on here. Matthew Tkachuk, as well as his brother Brady. Just think about putting them in the bottom six. You could put them on separate lines, and either you're dealing with Matthew Tkachuk or Brady Tkachuk. It could be a nightmare for opposing teams. Brian Rust, Connor Garland. It's a lot of talent here. Josh Norris out of Ottawa. Clayton Keller out of Arizona. Dylan Larkin, who had an injury-shortened season for Detroit this past year. Anders Lee, also injury-shortened season. Same with Jack Eichel. If Eichel's healthy and makes this team, he likely ends up in the top six. I don't have an asterisk next to him because I don't know if he's going to be healthy. So I have no idea where USA Hockey is going to go with this. Trevor Zegras, Outside chance he makes the team, but never say never. Again, if they decide to go with youthful players in that bottom six, you could have Zegras, you could have Jack Hughes, and you could have a decent bottom six. You could have Josh Norris there as well. And again, it's a matter of, are you going to go with the experience or are you going to go with the speed? In some cases, players have both, but usually you're going with one or the other, right? So that is an incredible forward group right there. And so you could stop with that and go, so this should be a team that's in the medal running. Defense. And it feels like with the U.S., the defense is always fantastic. And I'm going back to the 80s for when you had Phil Housley. There was always good American defensemen. Adam Fox, the defending Norris Trophy winner, very likely top four here. John Carlson, also very likely top four, and he was on the 2014 team. Jeff Petrie should be there, didn't make it in the last time. Quinn Hughes, does he make it, or do they look at his defensive aspects of the game and say, we think we can do better with other players? There's a legitimate chance that Quinn Hughes doesn't go because Alec Martinez should be there. Martinez, absolutely fantastic season for Vegas. Neil Pionk, argument could be made for him going. Torrey Krug, same for him, especially if Charlie McAvoy goes and is in the top four, which is where I have him. What about putting McAvoy and Krug together? They've played together before. Seth Jones, who likely ends up top four, and we will be having the debate between now and the Olympics and then beyond about whether or not Seth Jones is a good defenseman. Justin Falk was on the team in 2014. Does that put him on the team again in 2022? Brett Pesce, does he make the team? Do they go with a shutdown pairing of Pesce and Jacob Slavin, who's down here? Do they go with that as their 5 and 6? Or do they look at the star power and go, you know what, we're going to throw as many stars at it as possible? Cam Fowler made the team in 2014. Zach Werenski's on the board. You could put Werenski with Jones. They know each other pretty well. Ryan Suter made the team in 2014. Does that give him a leg up? Ryan Lindgren, defensive defenseman out of New York. You could pair him with Fox. Noah Hannafin out of Calgary. Underrated defenseman at this point, I think. Jacob Trouba out of New York. And again, you could have 3 New York Ranger defensemen on the American team. Ryan Mcdonough was on the 2014 team. I don't think Mcdonough necessarily makes it, but this is stacked. This is some stacked defense for the Americans. It is an intimidating bunch. And then you get into goaltending, and it could be a bloodbath there. You have Connor Hellebuck, who should be the starter for the Americans out of this. Then you have Thatcher Demko, who could be the backup, but John Gibson, you would think, would have the rights to that first. Oh, and Jonathan Quick, who was on the team in 2014, he's still kicking, and he's going to be trying for a roster spot, you'd have to think. Alex Nedeljkovic, can he come in out of nowhere and get himself a roster spot on Team USA? Oh, and Ben Bishop, if he's healthy, would also qualify for some consideration for the U.S. Olympic team. The goaltending, stacked. Defense, stacked. Offense, stacked. 4th place would not be good enough. And this is where it's interesting, because yesterday I did Sweden and Finland when I was looking at rosters for the Olympics. Finland does overachieve, and they do score upsets, as they did against the Americans in that bronze medal game. Sweden is always a beast at Olympics and just international competitions in general. The Americans have to find a way to overcome both of them. And then they have to worry about the Russians and the Canadians as well. And while, the Czechs are going to be a tough out, the Czechs would be seen as being a rank below the top tier teams. And again, the Czechs are capable of an upset here and there too. All you need is a hot goaltender for like 2 weeks, and you can win yourself a medal. So that is something to consider. But for the Americans, they should have an absolutely stacked roster. So my question to you, and I know there are players who are not on this board who could make the team, because you could make 2. You could probably make 3. With Canada, you could definitely make 3. But this just shows how far the States has come. That I remember a time when you would look at American rosters and think, well, they're good. They might be around where the Czechs are. They're not quite at that next level. They were kind of that tier below. Not anymore. That changed right around the time that Brett Hull decided he was going to play for the U.S. Long story with why Brett Hull decided to play for the U.S. He had dual citizenship, so it was up to him. But it worked out pretty well for him. I thought it generated a lot of interest in hockey in the U.S. and things kind of took off after that. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Who do you think makes this stacked roster, and what would you expect? Is this a time where for the U.S. they say it's gold or bust, or would just a medal be something that they'd be happy with? Or yeah, gold or bust. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.